Hello, good people. Welcome back. Today we're going to cover lists. Basically list basics. List basics in Python. So, what are lists? Basically, we're going to get to know what are lists, characteristics of lists, what lists do, what can to lists, and the likes. So, we can say lists. Sorry, you can use a new folder. In the folder, let's just do thing. Okay, we'll just do lists here. So we can say lists are lists are used to store multiple items. Now, for instance, you want to store multiple items in a single variable. What do you use? Use a list. So what you use is called a list. For instance, if you want to store types of fruits, right? So you have a square. Then you name the fruit you have. So you have apple, banana, grapes are fruit, right? Grape. Let's say you call this fruits. Basically, this is an example of how this looks. The reason for this is we have stored multiple items, the apple, banana, grape, in a single variable called fruits. In a normal instance, we'd have apple being a variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. Right now, we've stored all in a single variable. Basically, we can say a list is a container. Created by surrounding a sequence of variables. The example I've just shown you right now, basically, it's just an explanation of what I did. What I did is an explanation of what I did display initially. So, created by surrounding a sequence of variables, this with a bracket. You have a bracket, we'll first have a bracket, then we have the list here, then we'll have them here to create a list. That's what a list is. So, another thing we have to be assured we have an element. So what's an element? An element is a list item. So a list item is an element, right? Let me put it up here. Element is a list item. Apple is an element, banana is an element, grape is an element because they are list items. They are items in a list, right? What are characteristics of a list? We've defined what a list have, basically define what a list and what it does. So what are the characteristics of a list? So a list is mutable, right? You remember we said a string and an integer are immutable. Right now we are saying a list is mutable, which means elements in a list can be replaced, ordered, or moved. Hope we clear. A list is mutable, which means elements in a list can be replaced, ordered, or removed. So we say these are elements of a list. These are a list. Now, so a list, it means this you can't remove this. You can't remove this, or you can add another one. You can add another one. You can add another fruit, an avocado. You can add a cherry. Or you can add whichever other fruit you want. You can remove this. You can't order the way they appear. Right? Hope that's clear. Another explanation of how a list looks like. So a list is a subset. What do we mean by this? We mean that the elements contained in a list this we understand this by what we did define initially when we talked over elements. When we talked over so a list sequence. A list is a sequence type, which means elements in a list are ordered by position. Which means this will be position 0, position 1, position 2 to the end of. So each of the elements in a list are ordered by position starting from 0. So basically we say this is what the positioning is what we call element indexes. Elements index is what I've just defined. It starts from 0, 0, 1, 2. If we have another, the number continues. Whereby, if we want to create an empty with if we want to create an empty list, and so what we do is, I'd say my list. If I'm creating a list for schools, I'll say schools is equal to an empty list. Just doing this creates an empty list. I hope we're clear up to that. Basically, what I mean by an empty list means that there are no schools. That's no elements in it. So had we had schools here, those the elements, the schools list could not be empty. I hope we're clear up to there on our introduction to lists. We've said we want to store multiple items in a single variable. We store them in a list. List container is created by having the square brackets shown here. Then you have the name here. Then we have the elements. Elements is a list in items. We've said list is mutable, which means we can add, but the order we can remove, and the rest. So a list is a sequence type, which means if we say fruits 0 to show us apples, right? When we say fruits, we plot fruits, then we use a square bracket to pick where it is. We say 0. This in our example list, it will give us apple, right? That's what we mean by it's a. That's what we mean when we say a list is a sequence type. So this will give us apple. Yeah. So I hope we're clear to that. Basically, we're going to lists. So maybe to catch up on what we've just been saying. So we say a list is a mutable ordered collection of items that can hold elements of various data types. We're clear with that. We also have a container, a data structure that holds organized multiple elements, allowing for easy storage and retrieval. An element, these are elements. This school's list is empty because it doesn't have any elements. These are elements. So elements are individual items stored in a list. So I hope that was an easy explanation. And then indexing. This is what's called indexing. Indexing is how we name, how we pick the list in an order, in a sequence type. Sorry. So yeah, index is an integer that specifies the position of an index of an element within a list. I hope we're clear. Those are the basic definition of what we have covered about lists here. Now, let's talk about accessing list elements. How do you access them? I know we have touched on that for a little bit. There should be a space here. So we want to know how to access list elements. So I'll use this as an example. This is our list. Our list has, we have a list of fruits. So apple, banana, and grape. So how do we manage to access them? So let's do a little bit of explanation here and there. So lists, if we want to reduce the number of variables in a program, we use lists, right? So these are the lists. We're reducing number of variables. Now, for example, initially, before we created a list called fruit, we had A being apples, B being bananas, and C being grape. Now here I'm trying to explain what our problem is. So here we have 3 variables in this program. What happens is we reduce all of them and just call them fruits. When we call them fruits, when we do this, then we do away with this, right? Now our three variables becomes one. So that's how we have fruits representing all this, and just one, and stores stores all the three all the strings as one. So that's how lists are really help. They are able to reduce the number of variables in a program. Individual list elements can be accessed using indexing. So if you want to access element in a list, we use indexing. That's how we're able to access each of the elements. These are this first, second, or third. We're able to use indexing using either 1, either 0, 1 for the other rest. Now, a list integer, a list index for the indexes. A list. Sorry. A list. An index. This is because okay. Basically it's a characteristic of indexing in a list. Basically we're saying an index cannot be a floating point. I hope you can there the floating point. Basically you cannot say 1.0 or 0.6 or 0.7. Basically you cannot say fruit. Then you're trying to access element at 1.6. No, this can't work because these are float, so this can't work. So these are no. So that can't work. But you can say fruits 1. That's how we can do. Yeah, that works, and the other one doesn't work. Basically you cannot say 1.0 as well. 1.6, whichever floating point type you cannot say floating. You cannot say. If you use any type besides an integer, it will give you an error. So let's do an example of accessing list elements. Let's just do one example, then let's do an example. So I'll create a folder here, call it list. So I'll call it a list example. Now, so I'm going to use class, right? Let's use a let's use a expensive class. So among the expensive cars we know, you can say okay, there are different types. So I'll say let's say expensive one. So we have Rolls Royce Phantom. We have Rolls Royce. I'll just list the best 3, top 3. So I'll use Rolls Royce, Bugatti. So I'll just give them Rolls Royce. Price. I'll use any. Okay, I'm not going to use exact figures because I don't know the exact figure. I'm just going to use this for example. There's a car called Pagani. So I'm just going to use this history for example. So I'm going to pick any value. Okay, these are the exact value of the cars. I will just use it for example. 30,000. So we have 20,000, 130,000, 100,000. Those are the cars we have. So I'm going to create a list of the best of the prices of the cars. So basically I'm going to create a list of prices. And we said when we're creating a list, we use a square bracket. That's the first thing. So then we're going to use, because we're not naming the prices by themselves, we're using the variable name. So I'll just name the variable names. So I'm going to say Rolls Royce, then we say Bugatti, then we say Pagani. Basically we have the 3 of them. So that's how our list looks like. So we have some class, we create a list. Then let's access the list. So what I want to do is I go to print. Okay. Then we say Rolls Royce. The price is so we want to say price. Basically we used prices. This is how we access it, and then we use a square bracket. Then we now pick in our list where does the Rolls Royce appear. Since it appears the first one, it starts from 0 as the first one. Right? those are things we are accessing in. So you can use any, you can use currency from anywhere. So I'm going to change each to be, so here we'll say Bugatti. Then we change it, since our Bugatti appears number 2, so it's 0, 1. Let's click the last one, will be true, and it's the price for a car known as again. So when we run our program, it's in this. So when we do Python, then we do list. So when we run this, it shows us the prices we had for our cars initially. I hope it's clear how we have been able to access, how we have been able to create a list, we've been able to access the list. Basically, you access the list elements. I hope that's clear, and everything is up to date until that point. Now, let's talk about so we've been able to access an element by an example. Elements in a list by an example. Let's talk about how to update list elements. How do you manage to update list elements? So if you remember clearly, we did say lists are mutable, right? What does this mean? This means that you can change the content. You can change the content of the list, right? Hope you're clear to that. So, an element. Remember what elements are, right? An element can be updated. An element in a list can be updated with a new value. This is what we mean when we say lists are mutable. It means an element in a list can be updated with a new value. How do we do this? By performing. Basically we'll be doing we'll be playing with position of the element. Now, I hope this makes sense. So what I'm saying here is, if you want to update an element in a list, what you can do is you can do an assignment. You can do an assignment to a new position in the list. Hope that's clear. For example, this is our list. This is our list. So if you want to make an update, basically we'll be doing an update to this position, right? Since we talked of indexing, so it means this is position 0. So you can do an assignment position to position 0, and it will change the content of an apple to something else. Let's say you want to okay, let's say I'll give an example. Let's say you want to have a fruit at 0, what other fruit can you try? Apple, banana, grape. I'll just look for a list of fruits. Let's use cherry. Just remember, let's say you want to have it as cherry, right? Cherry. What happens is, the next time you do a print of fruits at point 0, you will have cherry and not apple. Example. Let's do this. Let's do an example. So I'll create a new file. I'll call update_list. The next space what we just say. Then we do. So I want to do print twice. So I'll do print of fruits. And then I'll do update. After update, I'll do print of fruits as well. Hope we've seen what I've just done here. So when we run our update list, it means now this is the result we have. Okay, from our explanation here, that if you want to update an element in a list, you perform an assignment to a position in the list. So basically here we're playing with positions. An example here using the fruits list. We have apple, banana list. So apple is in position 0. Index 0 is index 0. So I did an index and then changed an index 0 from apple to banana. So when I did a print in our result here, I will see result of cherry. I hope that's clear. We've seen how we can do it. We can basically what we're doing here is update. Basically we're manipulating a list. We're manipulating a list. I hope that's clear. Now let's see what next. Let's see. Oh, that's clear. I can do another example if time allows. Yeah. Let's see. I hope that's clear how we are able to edit that. What I can do for. So if I change this and then I change it to, since I can change to 2, it means our grape will change and be shade. in our result here. So when I run this again, we'll have our apple back here, and then now we have our grep being a cherry. Now that's clear. You can be able to switch the update to wherever you want to perform the edit, or wherever you want to update the list. I hope that's clear. Lastly, I want us to cover on not lastly, maybe on last. I want us to cover on adding and removing elements from a list. How do we add and remove elements from a list? Adding, removing elements from a list. In case there is a question, you can leave them in the comment section. You can just leave them in the comment section, and then I'll be able to handle them. Now, maybe you have any question or any example is not clear. Leave the question in the comment section, then I'll be able to handle it. Now, let's talk about adding and removing elements from a list. This is a list we have, right? So let's talk about how we can be able to add more, adding, and then how we can be able to remove. Now, since we've said that the reason why we're talking about adding and removing is because we've said lists are mutable. Lists are mutable. That's why we can be able to add and remove. So, because they are mutable, a programmer can use methods add, remove elements of the list. Now that's clear. Since we've said it's mutable, which means you can edit. Now it means a programmer can use methods to add or remove items from the list. A method. What does a method do to our list? What does a method actually do? A method instructs an object to perform some action. So basically, there are actions which are going to instruct the object to perform some actions. Remember we talked about objects initially. So if there's anyone who has a question on objects, you can refer back to our recording on objects and then get something about it, and then you can be able to get to where we are right now. So we say a method instructs an object to perform some action. Okay. So that's clear. So basically, what you're saying is methods instruct objects. Objects. Okay, I want to go deep into objects since we've covered that. Objects. An object is created when this is written, and then the program is run. An object is created automatically by the interpreter. So a programmer does not create an object. The interpreter that creates an object. So when you want to edit the object, a programmer uses a method to instruct the object to perform some action, right? So among the objects we're going to use here are we have something called append method, append list method. This is used to add new elements. So I can make this better and so on. So we say this is just to add new elements to a list. Yeah, how that's clear. Now to remove them. So we have two of them. So we have the pop or remove method. These are used to remove elements. Used to remove elements from a list. How that's clear. Okay, this is just an introduction to methods. We'll cover methods in their own as we move along in our recordings in the near future. But this is just a small introduction to what really happens or what's done to our list here. So we can do something like list. The name of our list, we could list here. I call it fruits since we have fruits. Fruits, we call fruits. Fruits .append. We want to append. Then what we want to append here. Values here, right? So this will add value to the list and list. Now you have to mark this because you're adding it to the end of list. How that's clear? When you use .append, when you use fruits, so when you use fruits pop, then the number you want to remove. Let's say you want to remove 1, right? So this removes index list. So you're going to use index 1 from the list. Hope you're clear. When you use pop 1, sorry, you use let's say pop 2, pop 3 to remove from where this index is. but here we're adding the actual value. If we want to add the actual value, when we remove using the index. Or you can use fruits and dot you remove, let's say you want to remove something. Let's say our fruits have banana. So if you do this, it will remove the first element that matches the banana. So here, banana will be removed since it matches the banana we have in our list. So let's do an example of let's do an example. We already have fruits. I'll create a new file called fruits. Now I'll paste the fruits. Now we have our fruits list. Now we'll talk about adding and then remove. So let's say you want to add append. You said appending is where you add an item, you add an element to a list. So say we want to add a cherry, right? So I'll do here print fruits. Then at the same time I will do print fruits down here. So let's see what happens. Now, as we see here, in line 3 when we print fruits, we have just 3 elements in our list. 1, 2, 3. As in here. Sorry, as in here. When we append cherry and it adds to the last one, so it adds a comma here, then places the cherry there. That's why when we print in line 6, see cherry added. We can append as more as we like here. So the next thing I'll do here is since I want to do both add and remove, so I'll do fruits. Sorry, I want to do it after. So since we've seen how we said that, I'll do fruits dot pop. So we want to pop the list from number 2, right? Then we do a print of fruits again. So let's see what happens. So first in line 3 it prints us the 3 fruits we have. Then we add cherry. In line 5 we've added cherry here. Then in the last line we remove pop 2. So this becomes in the index number 2. So it will remove we have apple 0, 1, 2. It should remove grape because grape is in index number 2. Hope that's why this removes from index number 2. This removes from the index. Hope we're clear. Hope it removes from the index. Hope that's clear. I hope we've talked there about lists and the example. Okay, we can use let's do a remove example of now here we'll go to remove cherry. Yeah. So this should remove 2 items now. Let's see what happens when we do it should remove. Okay, let me see the error we're having. Sorry. Okay. I hope you see the error. When you say pop, it should take an integer. So this should be removed, not pop. Yeah. I hope I'm clear now. That's why we're having this error. So error from my okay. So I hope we clear with error. So right now we're removing cherry. From the word remove, it removes what that matches. Remove it's the one that matches. So basically that's what happens here. That's what we just removed cherry. So we remain with apple and banana because we already removed index number 2 here. It removes grape, then it removes cherry. It pops grape, then removes cherry. I'll put clear on how we use the pop, the remove, and the append, both step by step. Yeah, using on lists or in lists. I hope that's clear, and we've we've gone through the examples. If anyone has any question on the examples or list, please drop the question in the comment section, then I'll be able to handle it. Before we end this, let's go through one final thing, what we call the sequence type. Basically, we're just trying to say the sequence type method, right? Sequence. I hope we can tell what means a sequence type method. I hope we've been able to see this in our example just a few seconds ago. So basically what we mean by this is basically sequence type functions. Sequence type methods. Sorry, let me start with methods. Sorry, sequence. So in our example here, we've said methods are the append, we've said the remove, append, pop. These are methods which are written to our object to alter our list. Anyway, so we say these are sequence type methods, right? Now, sequence type method, so these are Python language definitions of sequence. Okay, sequence type method, the one I've just listed right now, the ones those we just used in our example initially. These are functions built into the Python language definitions of sequence. What we mean by that is the sequence type objects have associated methods that typically alter or return some information about the object. Just how we're able to alter the object using these sequence type methods, right? These are functions that are built. These ones, they are functions that are built into the Python language definitions of sequence types, like lists and strings. Basically, I hope we have understood what that means. And what we mean by sequence type functions. Sequence type functions they are built to Python language as well. That takes sequence like lists or strings as arguments and operate on the given sequences. Basically, they operate on the given sequences. I hope that's clear. But we have functions and methods that operate on the given sequence. So we have functions that are given, that are functions and methods that are useful to the list. We just used a few. We have max of a list. These are other methods and functions that are used in a list. So we can able to give a length of a list using this. So we can use length of a list, length of fruits. So give us what the number of what we have in our list. So we have another concatenation. Basically, we have list 1, then we have list 2. When we concatenate, we have a new list. We have since we have max, so I'll leave max and list. So basically, these are the Python functions and methods which are used in a list. They have been generated. They have been built into Python language definitions. I hope we're clear about that. Other than some, there's a good list of other list of the functions and methods, and then you can be able to go through them. I hope we are clear up to there. So if we had prices, we can be able to use max and min, or height, length, we can be able to use max and min. If we have obviously, you can use length to get the number of items in a list. You can be able to concatenate that. I hope that's clear about lists. Basically, we've covered major sections about lists. So we've covered major sections about lists. I'll be able to, I can do one or two labs on lists, and then I'll be able to check on that. Otherwise, we've covered majorly what lists do, how to go about a list, how to edit a list, how to append, pop, and move. And we've been able to discuss it widely. So in case there's anyone who has questions on lists, kindly drop it in the comment section. I'll be able to handle it. And share this to your friends, to your family, and I'm happy to continue with you in this journey. Let's keep learning Python, and we'll keep learning more as we go along. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next one. Bye.